Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. So it's a really sunny day out. It's actually kind of hard for me to see, so I may not come up super well on camera. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I just wanted to make what is hopefully a brief video about something that really ticked me off last night. To the point of incoherent, angry rambling last night. So, apparently, actor Alec Baldwin, who often is on SNL impersonating Trump and mocking him and whatnot, said this about African Americans who vote Trump. He says, this is a tweet from some foundation he's a part of, called HABF, or rather HAB Foundation. It says, "This is the White House press secretary," and then there's a link to, I'm guessing, the White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany? I don't know how you say her name. Where she makes a tasteless joke about Obama. Keep in mind, Obama, not the black race, Obama. But anyway, and then it says here, if you are, again, this is from Alec Baldwin, if you are African American and vote for Trump, you are mentally ill. This pisses me off immensely. Not because I find it to be a personal insult. I am apolitical. And I wasn't even raised a Republican. I'm from New York City. I was raised Democrat. But that's actually part of the reason why I can't stand this this tweet from him, right? In my opinion, this tweet is peak white savior complex. And he's trying, in my opinion, to shame African Americans who don't follow the trend, who don't follow the herd, and vote Democrat by saying that they're mentally ill. I just find this incredibly disgusting. First of all, he's a Hollywood actor. So he really has no place to talk when it comes to mental illnesses, especially when it comes to the fact that he's had many a public breakdown and many issues involving drugs or whatnot. So really, he really shouldn't be talking about mental illness for anybody. But for me personally, while I do not participate in politics, because I feel it personally as a case of it's like gambling, the house always wins. But I can't stand it when you have these Hollywood elites, and I know that he's not the first, and I know that many other people in entertainment lean very liberal, lean very far left, and have what is often referred to as Trump derangement syndrome. And I don't agree with how many of them politicize their social media accounts because it's just inherently polarizing and you create divisions. And I don't think you should do that in your fan base. But all that being said, at least most celebrities that comment on politics don't seem to do this, at least not from what I've seen. They may post negative article about Trump, but they don't usually take shots at groups or rather little subsections of groups like Latinos or blacks who happen to break from the crowd, right? And vote for Trump. So I just find this highly insulting because I'm of the opinion that while I personally am not politically minded, I'm not going to agree with somebody voting Democrat, nor am I going to agree with somebody voting Republican because I don't agree with the system at all. But I also will, for all my disagreements, right, I will also defend a person's right to make their own decisions, to have their own agency, especially if their own decisions lead them to break away from the pack, as it were, and do something different and do something controversial. Because what white savior Alec doesn't understand here is that, especially in the African American community, because being a Democrat is so tied not to just your political identity for many Black Americans, but also your identity as a Black person, right, is Democrat. You would have an easier time telling a Black person, like say your parents, you would have an easier time telling your parents that you're gay than telling them that you are a Republican. It is viewed as a betrayal of the highest order, and anyone who does that, right, takes a risk of really losing their family. It's not a joke. Being a Democrat, that political identity is deeply ingrained into the African American sense of identity, right? Just like being Christian, being a believer is tied into the Black identity. If there's two things you do not tell a Black person, right? Especially if you're another Black person, is that you're atheist or that you're a Republican, because they will revoke your Black card like it is no one's business. You are not considered Black anymore. You're considered a sellout, a snowflake, many other things, but you are not Black anymore if you tell them that. And I'm not saying that this is right. I disagree with this type of shaming behavior wholeheartedly. But it is something that happens in the Black community, which is why when someone makes a choice like that, right, they go against the grain and they say, hey, I'm a Republican, or I'm voting for a Republican. As much as I may personally not agree with voting for anybody, I will support and defend that person's right to make their own choice, especially when that choice is costing them dearly, where they're really putting themselves and their social lives and their family lives at risk. So for him to say this without knowing the content and the context, in my opinion, is just disgusting. And on top of that, and I don't know if Alec knows this, but from about the late 1800s, probably about 1870 to about the Great Depression, most Blacks in America actually voted Republican. That started changing in the 30s because of the Great Depression and African Americans of the day feeling that the Republican Party of the day wasn't really helping them because they were one of the most disadvantaged social and racial groups that were hit the hardest by the Great Depression. And then this turn, it was slow and it was very complex. I'm giving a very, bare bones version of it, but this turn kept going and going and going and hit a fever pitch in the mid-60s because the Democratic Party took up the banner of the Civil Rights Movement, meaning that Blacks, like any other group, will support the party they feel is helping them move forward, right, socially, helping them get the rights and whatnot that they need in society to be viewed as equal, meaning that we can't tell the future, but something could happen where the Black vote, right, switches back to Republican for whatever reason, right? We can't read the future. But the thing is that political loyalty is an ever-shifting thing, right? Because people are people, and people are dynamic, whether we are talking about individuals or whether we are talking about groups. And so, how do I put it? It may seem like Blacks have always been Democrat, but that hasn't always been the case. And at some point in history, at some point in the future, maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't, I don't know. But it'll probably change again. But still, that he would write this, that he would try to shame people for daring to be different, for daring to actually think for themselves, in my opinion, is disgusting and reveals his prejudice. And the thing is that, so many people in Hollywood, himself included, talk about how Trump is a racist and he's trying to feed on racist hatred and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, well, what do you think this is doing? What do you think that shaming African Americans who vote Trump is going to do? Isn't that kind of racist? Or at the very least, prejudice? Isn't that exposing your own biases and what you think about people who don't think like you? Huh? Isn't that kind of, as the saying goes, showing your ass, Alec? Because all I see here are the flaws in your thinking, Massa Baldwin. All I see here are the flaws in your reasoning and how you have no problem with black people so long as they don't vote Trump. If they vote Trump, well then there must be something wrong with them. They must be mentally ill. Because the Hollywood actor who's had a well-known history of drug problems said so. Because Massa Baldwin doesn't like it when a black person thinks for themselves and breaks from the party lines. You see, trash like this is why I give up on politics and celebrities a long time ago. Because of this, right? You're the good. You are good in the eyes of people like this until you dare to do something or say something or believe something that is contrary to them. Then you are the devil. And that is something in my life personally that I have experienced way, way, way too much of. So here's the thing, Alec Baldwin, from a dirty mutt who doesn't vote. You have no right to tell anyone else how to vote. You have no right to shame others just because they vote for someone you don't like. This isn't the cotton plan, this isn't a plantation. We don't work for you. You don't own us, Massa. We can do what we want. And if these particular African Americans want to vote Trump, while I personally may disagree with it, they have a right to. And I'm not going to shame them for it. Perhaps instead of calling people names, calling whole swaths of people you don't even know personally names, maybe, Massa, you should look in the mirror, right? And ask yourself why you are so intolerant of people who don't think the way you want them to. But anyway, that's the video. Let me know what you think and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.